Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 62. Today we're going to be diving into how you don't need to feel ready, you just need to move. Before we get started on this episode, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in week after week. Maybe last week wasn't a good week for you, and maybe this week you're back on your routine, you're getting started, you set yourself up for the week. Or maybe somebody sent you this episode because they thought that it would resonate with you. Thank you for taking time to tune in, to listen, to allow me to bring value to your ears and to your mindset. And thank you for also putting yourself in this arena. It's not easy to show up as a boss, and here you are doing it anyway. So let's get started. If you're waiting to feel ready, you're going to be waiting forever. That's kind of the reality of it all. Feeling ready is a myth. It is not realistic. I know that that's not the fun thing to say, especially in a world where we are conditioned to do what you feel. And sometimes the feeling of being ready never shows up. And that's the myth that I'm here to talk about today. There's going to be a couple of truths in this episode that I'm not going to shy away from you. So if maybe you're not in the right headspace in this moment, good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're tuning in, and I'm just advising you, giving you the upfront truth that there's going to be some bombs here. There's going to be some truth bombs. There's going to be some real life examples, and I'm going to give you some practical steps as always. But ultimately, I want to start from the front and tell you that the societal conditioning about how you have to be ready to do something is just not true. There is this fear of failure that comes with this quote unquote readiness. There is this fear of perfectionism, and I'm here to call it out. Readiness is just fear in disguise. Saying that, I don't think I'm ready for that is just fear in disguise. That's the truth. And I can say this because I've told myself this, that if you were ready, you would already be doing it. And that's the reality of that. Most people that make it in anything, most people that are successful in their different careers or their lifestyle or their life in general, they started before they felt ready. They started before it was perfect. They started before everyone was looking. Action breeds confidence and courage. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. That's by Dale Carnegie. When you move, when you begin to move towards your goal, when you start to make decisions at your job and you start to maybe demand more of yourself and doing things scared, you get the confidence to continue doing them. You get the courage to continue pushing yourself and putting yourself out there. When you don't do anything, when you wait to be ready, it feeds that doubt and it feeds that fear. It feeds the unreadiness that you feel. I've said it a few times. You guys know my story if you've been listening for a while. But if you haven't, you should know that I waited a good 2 or 3 years before starting this podcast. And I felt underprepared. I didn't know where to start, even though I was literally surrounded by people with media companies, by people who were already recording podcast episodes, by literally listening to podcasts. I still delayed it. I said I wasn't ready. I don't even know where to start. And I waited that good 2 years, and then it was the summer of 2020, and I was having a good conversation with a friend of mine, and I was like, we should start a podcast, and we should start a true crime podcast, and we could talk about this, and we could talk about that. And she was all about it, but it wasn't her time. And then I realized that I didn't want to start a true crime podcast because I love listening to true crime myself, and I would rather listen to others than necessarily dive into that realm. It's like a guilty pleasure of mine. So then I met with a friend of mine, and you guys know this. He is the owner of Jersey Media. And I was like, listen, I want to start a podcast. And he was like, come through, let's talk about it. And it wasn't still for another 3.5 months that I recorded that episode. And it was another 2 or 3 months before I even put the episode out because it was long, because I said a lot and I had to edit it. And it was just all of this confusion, basically. And I was totally unprepared when I launched this episode, the first episode of this podcast. I didn't even edit the bulk of it, honestly. My friend helped me. And then after I put that first episode out, I was like, okay, what's next? And I literally have taken a dive into learning how to edit, learning the topics, learning to come with the knowledge, learning to do those things. And while we are still on the brink of taking off and we are still in the midst of doing those things, and sometimes doubt can creep in, I was never ready. I was never fully ready to launch this podcast. I just started it. And the second I started to get the courage and get the confidence to continue doing it. So maybe you're a mom that is thinking about starting a business and there's just so much chaos. Or maybe you have started an LLC and you haven't done anything with it because you don't really know what to do. Or maybe you're a person who has a reel pending in their social media and you're just afraid of it being imperfect and like, ugh, I hate social media so much and I have to do it. It's a necessary evil for my business and etc. Or maybe you're just a person that you're afraid to start going to therapy or to a gym class. And you're afraid because you don't feel ready. Maybe you don't feel confident in that. And if you know anyone that has done any of these things and you know that they've come out on top, something that they all have in common is that they didn't wait. They moved. They made a decision. They made a choice to say, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go. Maybe they didn't directly go to that big city gym class, but they took a few YouTube classes in their living room. Or they went to their local yoga class and they decided they really liked it. So then they started going to the gym by themselves. Maybe you don't have an example of someone going to therapy in your family and that really worries you and you really want to go, but then you just decide, you know what, I'm going to do a quick Google search. You know what, I'm just going to get the local therapist in the area and I'm just going to go. You moved. You didn't wait. Today, I'm going to cover a couple of steps about how to move when you don't feel ready, how to move without that readiness. And before I go into those steps, I want to remind you that you are worth everything that you want to accomplish. You are worthy of it. You are worthy of the success that you want to achieve, whatever that looks like to you. For some people, that's monetary. For some people, that's spiritual. For some people, that's luxuries. Whatever that looks like to you, you are worth that. Just because you don't feel ready does not mean that you're not worth it. Don't forget that. So the first step in how to move without readiness is start small and messy. There's going to be clarity after you take action. It's not going to be before. You're not going to get this epiphany before you do what you have been putting off or before you actually start moving in whatever arena it is. It's going to come after. You're going to see how you could have changed what you initially put out there. You're going to see what your pictures could be once you photograph a few times if you're pursuing being a photographer. Give yourself permission to be cringy, rough, unpolished. Give yourself that permission. I know that a lot of us, especially millennials, I can only speak to my generation, we were taught that in a good way, we were taught that posting on the internet never goes away and etc. And that has also kind of created a point of being afraid to be unperfect when we post online. And so I want to give you today permission to go out there, to be cringe, to be rough, to be unpolished, because you're going to get that clarity once you start moving. You're going to realize, you know what, I didn't really like that. I think I'm going to go this way, but you're not going to know if you don't start to move. Number 2, create a next tiny step list. So what that might look like is, you know what, today I'm going to do a 10-minute Google search on how to start a website. Don't try to climb a mountain when you've never even hiked a trail. Write down maybe what the next step looks like. Not necessarily what the big outcome looks like and making yourself this ginormous to-do list. Just start with a next tiny step list. Number 3, set a 24 action rule. Make a decision and act within 24 hours. That's just what that means. When you're faced with, maybe I should do this, set yourself a 24-hour alarm, an action rule, before your brain talks you out of it. Say, you know what, I'm just going to do it and see how it goes. The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out and you're still where you are exactly. And the best that could happen is that you surpass your wildest thoughts in this present moment. So set that 24-hour so that you can just set yourself up and just do it. Number 4, reframe fear as a green light. Our brains are automatically wired to want to stop us, want to protect us. Not in a negative sense, but because in a human being way, our brain is meant to protect us. It is meant to keep us from, danger, whether that's like walking in traffic, etc. So why don't you look at that fear that you're feeling from starting that's keeping you immobile? Why don't you look at it as you're on the edge of growth, not danger? Why don't you look at it like, I'm petrified of applying for these jobs and just getting crushed and getting rejection, because that's a real thing, right? But the worst that can happen is in you applying is that you don't get the job. How's that any different than from where you already are? So make sure that you're taking fear when you feel it and say, you know what, this is my green light. I'm on the edge of growing here and I need to do this. I want to encourage you to journal. And I'm going to give you 2 questions that you can journal about at the end of this episode. And that's, where in my life am I waiting to feel ready? And what is one small move I can make today for that? I always recommend a book. And this was a book that I listened to on Audible a while ago. And the book is called Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. And this book is going to give you courage. It's going to help you to show up before you feel certain or ready. It is going to encourage you to feel vulnerable. It's going to encourage you to feel stronger and to see your progress. If you're struggling right now with fear of judgment, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, this book is great. And I also have a few episodes on perfectionism and imposter syndrome on this podcast, so definitely go listen to those as well. The exact barriers that keep people waiting to be ready are mentioned in this book. And a quote from this book, just to give you a little bit more edge about it, because this line hits different. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. You don't need to feel ready, you just need to show up. I hope that serves as a reminder that shooting for perfection is a form of hiding, and that real growth happens when we choose visibility and action over comfort. You don't need to be ready. You just need to be brave enough to move, even while you're shaking. This week, I want to invite you to DM me or tag me when you take messy action. Again, that can be you're taking a yoga class for the first time in 5 years. That can be putting together a reel about your career. This can be anything that it looks like to you that is holding you back, whether that's in your business, in your career, in your relationships, in you just literally wanting to start a friendship with someone that you think you can't have a friendship for. I want you to DM me or tag me, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I want you to show me where you're taking messy action. Let's talk about it. Before we end this episode, I want to encourage you to leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Come back again next week for another episode of You the Boss podcast.